Good afternoon. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us today as we talk about Gmail Top 10 and best practices. We're going to cover some tips and tricks in Gmail and also highlight some new features within the product. We will start with introductions. My name is Katie McInerney. I'm the training coordinator with the Office of Information Technology. I help organize technology training events, and a lot of the events we schedule, we actually get suggestions and feedback from our campus users. So I would definitely encourage you to send along any ideas that you have about technology workshops and other things that you would like to see us host. We also have Don Schmidt. He is a trainer in OIT. He's actually going to be taking you through his favorite features in Gmail this afternoon. So you're in for a treat. He's our resident Google guru. So if you haven't taken a class with him in the past, we hope that you will enjoy learning from him today. He has a lot to share regarding Google. So we thank Don for being with us this afternoon. Just a very brief agenda for what you can expect over the next hour. I'm going to give you a very brief overview when it comes to YouTube Live. This is still new to us. We are transitioning from Hangouts on Air, which some of you may be familiar with, that is actually merged into YouTube Live. So there's a few changes when it comes to functionality that I'll highlight in just a minute. Then I'll hand it over to Don, and he will focus on Gmail Top 10. And he'll also have a few bonus tips for you if we have some extra time. We do have additional resources for you if you want to explore Gmail and some of the items that we talk about today in more depth. We'll give you some links to additional information. We will take a look at any questions that may have been submitted on the Q&A document, talk about some upcoming workshops, and also share how you can get in touch with us and stay connected. All right, so very briefly, with YouTube Live, there's not a way to have an internal Q&A discussion. So what we've done to remedy that is to create a Google Doc that's shared out with anyone at NC State. So if you are an NC State user, you can highlight the URL below your YouTube video, or you can click on the link that you received in the reminder email about an hour and a half before the session started. And please feel free as we're going along, if you have a question about something Don's talking about, or if you want to explore something else in more detail, please feel free to just type your question into the document, and I'll be monitoring that throughout the session. And we'll be glad to bring up your question if it's relevant to what Don is discussing. If not, we'll just hold on to that question till the end of the session. There is a very slight delay in the broadcast and then what you are seeing on the user end. So know that if there's not an instant response, that we will eventually get to it. Typically, it's about 30 seconds. And then finally, there is a link to the evaluation in the Q&A document that we would ask that you complete at the end of today's YouTube Live event. There's also a link in the slides, which we will provide a link to, a very easy go link that you can reference the slides after the session as well. All right. Well, I will go ahead and hand it over to Don, and he's going to take you through his favorite Gmail features.
Okay, welcome everyone. I hope we can introduce you to a few features or additional features in Gmail that you may not have been familiar with before. One of the first ones that I like is the Compose To secret. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be flip-flopping back and forth between the slideshow and a couple of different mail accounts so I can show it to you in real live action. So I'm going to switch to one of my Gmail accounts here. This is my classroom account, and show you how the To secret works. If you click on Compose and you're starting a new message, now traditionally, if we wanted to invite someone, we just simply put the to in there, and we pick off whoever we want. That's one way to do it. Another way that you may not have known about before is the to. If you hover over the to, you see it becomes underlined, which makes you think it's a link, and it actually is. If you click on it, it opens up this window. And what it presents to you is your contact list, or for other people that are just new to Gmail, your address book. So these are all the folks that are in your contact list. And if you look in there, you can search for all the people in there, and then you can select them off. And if you notice down here at the bottom, it's given you a list of folks that you've selected. So if we wanted to add Louise, we would select Louise as well, and on, so you can pick and choose as many as you want to. And then when you're done, you can just click select, and it posts them up here in your toolbar for you. Now, of course, you can edit it anytime that you want and add others or drop others off, so it's freely editable once you've got it in there. It's just a tool to help you find things, but it can also do some more. So let me click on it again and come back over here. Well, maybe there's more than one Katie out there, one Chris out there, or something like that, and I don't have them in my address book. So I come over here and I select the directory. If I click on this down pointing arrow and select the directory, it opens up the North Carolina State University directory of all users. So now when I do my searches over here, it'll look for all the Katies that are registered through North Carolina State University. And I can come through here and pick off all the Katies that I want or whatever. When I've got them selected, I can come up here and look for some more and find them that way. So if there's more than one Louise out there, we'll find it that way, and we put them in there. And then again, when I click the select button, it pastes them up there, and I can edit it however I want. Now, there's another option you have here too that I really, really like. Let's say that we're putting a brand new team together, you know, Team X or something like that. And this is the initial mailing that's going out to notify everyone about the team. So we'll go ahead and we'll select all the team members, and we'll select Katie to be a member of the team, and Louise to be a member of the team, and on and on and on. So I can go on and select them all. Now notice again down here at the bottom, it's showing me all the people that I've selected, and it can be groups too, by the way. It doesn't have to be individuals. And I now have an option that says save it as a group. So I can give it a name, Team 1, or I'll call it Team 2 for today, and save as a group. And click on save, and it says you've created the group, and I can dismiss that now. So I can select that, and it puts all the members in there automatically. Or in the future, I can just type in the group name and it populates it with all the members of the group. And of course, you can go into your contacts manager and manage members of the group and delete groups and make new groups and stuff like that. But that's just a handy tool for you to use to get people to include it in your messages. The next thing I want to move on to is the attach feature from Google Drive that's now in Gmail. And let me demonstrate this too. So I'll come back to my training account and I'll click on Compose. And traditionally what we've done is we want to send out an attachment with the email. As we come down here and click on the paper-click icon and just go attach a document or file and put it to it. And once it's loaded in there, if we click the send button now, it actually sends a copy of that document out to the people on the recipient list, and they all get a copy, and it uses all the network bandwidth and stuff like that. Well, nowadays there's a much better and easier way to do it. So we'll get rid of that attachment, and now we'll come down here at the bottom and we'll select the Google Drive option. So now I got a variety of options that I can use. I can upload it from my computer. I can look at some recent documents I was working with, all the ones that were shared with me in my Google Drive, or I can look directly into my Google Drive from here and pick out a document, and it says insert it right there. Now, I just happen to be positioned in the wrong place, but it doesn't make any difference. Now when you click the send button, this is a link. There's no physical attachment. No file is transported anywhere else. And what this is this is a link back to your original documents. And I just turned my thing off, so I got to go turn it back on. So it's to your original document, and everybody has access to your document. And that's all there is to it. Now, if you make an attachment and the message goes out to people that don't have permissions for it, it'll ask you, would you like to grant them permissions at the same time? And if you say yes, then it takes care of the permissions or the sharing settings for you automatically. Next is the enhanced search feature. We all know that the best way to get along with Google is to uh, use the search feature. So here I am in my real live Gmail account here on campus. And if I want to see all the messages from Katie, remember there's this little drop down arrow right here at the left or the right end of the search box. And if I want to find all the messages I've ever received from Katie, I just click on that and say search. And there you go. I've got many, many messages from Katie. I can further refine it, all the ones that have the word, say, meeting in it. And I've reduced it down to 64, and I can further refine that and say that all the ones that have are from Katie that has word meeting that also has an attachment, and click on that, and I've got it down to 27 now, and I can keep on refining it further and further. And by the way, when you do a search like that, it also gives you this bar up here. So if I wanted to initiate an email with Katie, I click it right there. If I want to do a hangout with Katie, right there. Do a video conference with her, right there. Telephones are disabled here on campus. And if you're wondering who this Katie person is, I can just click on that, and it takes me to Katie's Google Plus page, and I can learn all about Katie there. So those are some of the things that you can do with the advanced search feature. Super handy. The better search you are, the more time you're going to save. Next one is Gmail filters. And if you're new to Gmail and you've come from GroupWise or Outlook or where they call them rules over there, but it's a way for you to set up rules, or we call them filters in Gmail. And to demonstrate that, it's a two-step process. And I'll show it to you in my training account here. The first step is to set up your criteria. So maybe if I want to say any messages that come from Katie that have the words meeting in it, I want something special to happen to it. And I can further refine these criteria anytime that I want to. Now I come down to the bottom right, and it says create a filter using a search. So I've established my criteria, and I click on the actions button now, and it says, what do you want to do when a message comes in that meets that criteria? Well, I can skip it, I can mark it as read, and what I want to do this time is add a star to it, and maybe I want to add a label to it, and maybe the label that I want to add is the Katie label. And then I could do other things if I wanted to as well, like delete it or forward it to someone else. Down at the bottom, there's an option down here that often gets overlooked. If I had any previous messages that matched that criteria, it would show it right here, a 0 that matched this one. But for other messages that met the criteria, it would show it right there. And if I click that, it would apply this filter to those as well. And now just simply create my filter, and off we go. And if you can see, here's one right here, message from Katie, and you see it's got a star on it. So it actually worked. But that's a simple example of how to use filters. Another thing that you can do with filters is if you come over to your settings and you have an option up here at the top, the fourth one over for filters, you can see all the filters that you've previously created, and you can edit them or delete them. You can also import and export filters. So if you've created a really nifty filter and somebody else wants it, you can export it to them. Come to our Gmail classes to learn more about all of these, and there's some links right here to help you get a better understanding of it as well. The next thing are tasks. As I mentioned before, you can do a lot of things in Gmail. You can do your mail services, you can manage your contacts. Another option is to do tasks. And if you click on this little down pointing arrow up here under mail and select task, it'll open up your task manager for you. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it up here. And this is your task list. Now, I'll warn you ahead of time, this is not a PPM tool. It's not Microsoft Project. It's not a project management tool. It's basically just an electronic to-do list. And you can add new things anytime that you want to, and then you have actions you can take on them. You can indent them, make this a subtask under an existing task. I could move it in terms of priority up and down the list. I can email my task list to someone else, that type of thing. So you create and manage tasks from right there. Now, another way that you can create tasks is if you have a message open and maybe you need to take some action on it or do something with it. So I want to do something with that. Once the message is open, you can come up to the top here and select More and say Add to Task. And if you look right down here, or up here now, you can see that that task was just created from the email, and it populated it with the body. So that's how we do that. But it doesn't end there. If I come over here to Calendar and open up my calendar, I can come over here and turn on the left bar and turn my task on or turn my task off. Now, if you don't see the word task over here under my calendars, perhaps you'll see the option for reminders, because that's a new service that Google just introduced. To get back to task, highlight that and click on the down pointing arrow and switch back to task, and it'll open up your task bar for you. Now, this is the exact same task list that we were looking at in Gmail. And if you remember this one right here, that was created from that email, and perhaps I don't remember all the details, so that doesn't give me enough information. If I just click on that, it'll go back and open up the Gmail from which it was created. So lots of handy things that you can do with your task manager up there. The next item down here are Gmail labels. And again, back to our demo account. I'll use this one for this demo. Labels fall into several different categories. If you look over here in your left bar, and now I have three categories. From here up, these are called systems labels. Those are labels that were created by Google, and the only thing that you can do with these labels is show them on the list or not show them on the list. You can't delete them, you can't rename them or do anything else with them. They're fixed. The only thing you can do is show them or not show them. Then down here we have our circles category. This is affiliated with your Google Plus account. So if you've activated your Google Plus account, you'll see this option, and we won't discuss that in today's session. Then further on down, all of these down here are called user labels, and they're the ones that you either created or inherited. And you can apply labels as you wish to any message over here. And one of the ways that you can do it is with a message open. You just simply come up to the top here and you can say, apply a label to it. And if I wanted to select a label, the Google Plus label, I just do that and it adds it to it. You can add as many labels as you want to a message. It makes no difference. All that you want, whatever helps you find it easier and faster. You can also delete them anytime that you want to by opening the message and just removing the label by hitting the little X box over there. Another way that you can apply a label is if this is about, this message here is about Project X, what I can do is I can take the Project X label and move it over there, and it just applies that label to the message. And there you can see there's the Project X label on that message. Another way that you can manage your, by the way, on the labels, if you don't like the color they are, if you hover over the label and click on the down pointing arrow next to it, you can come up here and add a color, create custom colors. And some people run out of colors real fast, like this is a black on red. If you want it to be white on red or something like that, you can go in and do custom colors and make, you know, red on green and green on red, whatever you want to that way. Here's where you can hide and show the labels from the list, or you can remove a label if you're done with it. Another way to manage your labels is if you come up here to the top right and click on your gear icon and go to Settings. And the second item is Labels, and this will present to you all the labels that are associated with your account. The top ones up here being the systems labels that Google creates for you. And again, all you can do is, if you look over here, you see the spam label. If I come over here and click hide, you see it disappears from that. So that's what show and hide means, is just either show it or don't show it. No, it reappears over there. These other categories down here, these are your inbox labels, and we're not going to discuss those right now. Those are more practical for your personal account than they are your business account. But if you come to class, we'll talk about them in more detail. And then your circles, which are affiliated with your Google Plus account. Then further on down, under the word labels here, these are all of the user labels that you've either created or inherited, and you can create a new one from right here if you want to. Anytime that you want to, you can go to an existing one and show and hide it from the list, as we talked about earlier. And that show and hide is the exact same show and hide that you see right here. So there's no difference. Both places do exactly the same thing. You can remove a label if you want to. And one of the things, for example, I have this Project A category down here, label down here, and there's 5 messages associated with it. If I remove the label, it does not remove any of the messages. It only removes the label from the messages. The messages stay the same where they were before. So if they didn't have any other labels on it before, it would leave it in all mail. If it had inbox and other labels on it, you'd still be able to find them by selecting those other labels as well. But different ways that you can manage your labels from there. Okay, now we're going to talk about inbox options. And I just use this one to death. I can't get enough out of this one. Most of us, when we look at our inboxes, we see it looking just like this. And you can see right up here at the top, I've got 4,906 messages in my inbox, and I have no idea how many of them are read or unread or something like that. It could be 300 or 1,000 messages down that I haven't read yet. Well, if I hover over my inbox label over here and click on that down pointing arrow, I can say, show me my unread messages. And what it does is it presents to me 2 inboxes now. The upper one up here is all of my unread messages, and down here is everything else. Some other options you can do with this is important messages first. So this little home plate, yellow home plate looking thing is Google's way of indicating that this is an important message. So all the messages that have that lit up on it will show in the top box and everything else below it. So I can do that. Now, another thing I do is I use stars extensively in my work. In my world, red star means it's important. You need to take action on it as soon as possible. Blue stars means it's important, but it's priority 2. Get to it as soon as you can. Yellow stars means you get to it a 3rd priority type of thing. Well, so when I come to work in the morning, I come up here and I say starred first. And basically, this is my to-do list. So it shows me all the messages that have star in it in the upper box, and then I just jump on all the red things, get those out of the way first, then follow up with the blue things and move on to the yellow things. So there are a couple of ways that you can use your inbox, and you can switch back to the default anytime that you want to. Now, one of the options up here is priority messages. And see, I don't have any messages that are declared priority. If I did want to at some point in time, I could come over here to settings, and I could come up here into my inbox category, and you can say I've got these same 5 options here that I have over there. They're exactly the same, so I could switch it from here or over there, or I could come down here and establish some other criteria if I want to. By the way, if those little yellow importance indicators bother you, you can turn them off right there if you don't use them at all. And you can come down here and say some messages need to override filters because they're important enough where I don't want them to be taken away from my inbox or something like that. So you can do quite a few things using your inbox options, and then you can come back to your default anytime that you want to. All right, next thing we want to show you is this is relatively new, less than 2 weeks old, now that you can get access to protected files in your Gmail. And one of the ways that we can do that is I receive this message right here that says it's password protected spreadsheet example. So if I open up that message right here, you can see where the file is. And if I click on it, it's going to ask me, it says, if you want to see this, you have to tell me what the password is. And if I can remember what the password is, it opens the file. Now it opens it in preview mode, but once it's in preview mode, you can open it with other applications, or you can connect with other applications as well. Now we don't have Google Drive installed on this lab equipment over here. If it did, then it would show Microsoft Excel as an option, that type of thing. You can also download it to your Google Drive. You can print it from here, download, and do some other options as well. That's the same as you see in any preview thing. So that's a new feature that just was recently announced, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to you when you need to share protected documents. We already covered labels, but there's one more thing in labels I want to show you, and that's how to create nested labels. So let's come back to our examples over here, and let's create a label for 2019. So I want this message right here to be filed under 2019. So I don't have a 2019, so I'll create one. So it says create a new one, and I just did, and it said yes. And you can see now over here on the left, 2019 is created. And if I want to apply it to this message, it's already been applied. Now, more specifically, I want this message to be posted to January 2019. So now what I can do is I can come up here and create another new label, January, and I want this time it to be under 2019. So I'm going to say nest this underneath 2019 and create it. And now if you look over here under 2019, it's now got this little arrow thing on it. If I click on that, it shows me the labels that are affiliated with 2019. A quick note about labels. They're always going to be listed in alphabetical order. Even the sub-labels will be listed in alphabetical order. And sometimes that's a bit of a problem. Let me give you a good example of that. If I create one for February, and I want that to be underneath 2019 as well, then you can see January appears in the list before January because it's in alphabetical order. So if I wanted to change that, one of the ways that I could do it is come over here to settings, come to my labels, come down here to the 2019, and just double click into February and make this, and make January, excuse me, February should be 02, shouldn't it? And January should be 01. And come back over here now. And now when I look at it, I've got January listed as 01, February is 02. So just remember, it's always going to be in alphabetical order. And the only way that you can change it is rename the label to something that's higher up on the collating list. Okay, labs. Labs, by definition, are experiments that Google's doing to test new features and functions, and where they live is you click on your gearbox over here and go to your settings and select the labs category. They've got quite a few of them down here, and you don't have to waste your time scrolling for them. You can just type them in here and see what's going on. And a couple that are very useful that I really like are the auto advance feature. I also like the pane view, and you might notice over here I've got my chat sessions on the right side of my screen in my Gmail account. The way that you make that happen is you just click on enable the right side chat. There's a few more down here that you may be interested in. Just try them, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, just come back here and disable them. Once you've enabled them or disabled them, come up here and click your save your changes, and come back and they will be available to you now. Now, one of the ones I wanted to show you that I turned on is the pane view one, and once I've turned that on, I get this little icon right up here. And if you're an Outlook user, or if you've used Gmail on an iPad or something like that, maybe this view is more comfortable or more familiar to you, so you can look at it in that mode. Or if you're like me, you're an old Outlook user, Thunderbird user, it'll show at the top and the bottom. So whichever way that you prefer, and you can come back to right here. There's other options as well. Just turn them on, turn them off. Another thing about labs, if Gmail goes wonky on you and you start having problems, and you've done your regular troubleshooting thing and you can't seem to resolve it, go into your labs and turn them off, see if the problem goes away. And if it does go away, then you know it was the lab. And they have a feedback option right there, so you can tell them about it as well. The next thing we're going to look at is how to create a calendar event from a Gmail. Let's say you receive a Gmail and it's about something where somebody wants you to do a meeting or take action on something, or something that you need to put on your calendar. Now, traditionally, what we've done is we go in here and we'll copy and paste this, then we'll go to calendar and we'll create a new event and we'll paste the material in there, and then we'll do all the setup and everything like that. Well, that's one way to do it, but there's another way to do it that's a little bit easier when you're in Gmail. And the way that works, I have the message open. So once you have the message open, you come up to more and you say create an event. And then it automatically opens up your event manager and your calendar service. And then you can come up here. It's very careful that you have to do your editing in here, because it's just going to transfer the title of the email, subject of the email for the title and stuff like that. So if you want it to be different, you have to make your changes up here. It will also transfer the date and the time that the email was received. So that may not be the time that you want to set up this event. So always come up here and check your times and dates to see if they're what you want to be. And of course, it's not going to put the location in there. It'll also transpose over to you everybody that was on the to list. So everybody that received the email will be added to the participants list over here. Check that carefully, because it may not be everybody that you want on the list. Of course, you can always come back and add more different people to the list anytime that you want to. And the last thing about that, if the email was sent out to a group, then the group name will be transferred to the invite list as well, to the participants list. So although it does a really good job of getting you over to it and transferring the body of the information in it, it's still up to you to go up in here and rearrange all the details. So I've put that in the notes right here. Make sure you go over all your details and make sure you edit these things before you do it. Because if you just create the event and click save, it might be completely different from what you were expecting. All right, a bonus tip now is the undo send. And this is something, believe it or not, I use quite a bit. Suppose I'm in the process of sending a message out, and I want to send a message out to Don. And I put stuff in it, and I go ahead and click the send button. And then, oh my goodness, I just remembered I sent it to the Don. Wrong Don, I forgot to put the attachment to it. I misspelled his name or something like that. Well, if you look right up here at the top, I've got the undo option. And when I click on that, it reaches in to the pipeline and pulls that message back out. And now I can make the appropriate changes to it or dismiss it. Now you might want to know, if that's not available to it, how do you get it? And the answer to that is you come over to settings and you go to your labs and you find your yeah, and then you turn it on, and then it will be in your general. Now, this is one of those features that in some accounts, Google has already moved it over to the general category. So after you've selected it from labs, you go to your general if it's not in your general category, and then you turn it on right here. And you have three options: back to the thread, which is the way it's always been for you, or you can go to the oldest or the newest. And the way that that works, okay, yeah, I'll get back to the undo send in just a minute. I've skipped over that, pardon me. Katie's reminded me. Your email messages are always presented to you in chronological order, with the newest one being at the top and the oldest one being further down the list. Now, if you do it the way that you're supposed to do, you would open your oldest message first, and then you would move up to the next oldest and all the way up to the newest one. That's probably the way that you should do it. So when you come over here to your settings and you look at your auto advance, so you can see you can go from the oldest to the newest. Now, on the other hand, if you go from the top to the bottom, you can do it this way. And what that does for you is, if I read this message and I've got this long body stuff and I delete it, see, it automatically opens the next one either below or above, depending on which option I selected. And you get back to your inbox. So if you're just reading through them in sequential order, either up and down, that handles that for you just fine. Back to something I skipped over a second ago, is I come back to my settings and go to labs, and if I'm looking for undo send, okay, that just got promoted from no longer being a lab to now being in your general category. So if you go to settings, general category, then you have your undo send option right here, and you can enable it. Now, when you enable it, you have your timing options: 5 seconds, 10 seconds, up to 30 seconds, but no more than 30 seconds. So that means when you go up here and you send out a message, you have no more than 30 seconds to remember that, in my case, 30 seconds, to undo it. And that's the good news. Another piece of news about that is if you send a message out and you decide that you want to undo it, but before you realize it needed and you went away to it and you came back to it, you lose your option. So you have to stay on that screen before you can have the undo option. If you move away from that screen, it takes it away from you. All right, extensions and add-ons. These are enhancements that you can add to Gmail to make them do more things for you. Mail merge is something that used to come up a lot in my classes, because back in the other services, mail merge was real easier. I'm in Microsoft, and I can do mail merge real easy and stuff like that. Well, if you the options are available if you go out to the Chrome store, and I've shown you one of the mail merge options out there. You just add it to your website and download it. Anytime you go to get an extension, you can click the reviews here, see if there's other. Maybe this is not the one that you want. You've heard about another one, so it'll show you related ones, give you the overview. We typically look for things that have good star ratings and stuff like that. So you would just add it and then use it from there. Another one is called Boomerang, and you get it the same way. And let me show you a real live example of how that one works. Let me see if I have it turned on. If I go to my settings, excuse me, my Chrome settings, and I find Boomerang, I don't have it under my extensions. Huh, I must have turned it off for some reason. So, okay, we'll go through the real thing. We'll go to Boomerang, and we'll add it to Chrome, add extension. Might as well see how to do the root thing. It says it's been added, so I'm finished with that. I'm finished with that. Which account was I in, Katie? I've got some, and you can see right up here that I have Boomerang available on that account. Let me close down all these calendar things. I have too many things open. So up here I've got Boomerang. That indicates I've got Boomerang. So when I compose a message up here, let me make it big so you can see it. And I've got Boomerang turned on. And I put all my message together and stuff. There's supposed to be a second button down here to show me what my options are. And why isn't it showing it to me? Okay, well, let me refresh and see what happens. Don't we all just love, there we go. So after I restarted my Gmail, now I'm composing a message. I can decide down here if I want to send it later. So I have this Boomerang option, and I can say I want to send it out an hour from now, whatever. I can specify a custom time and date, any time that I want to for it to go out, and it'll put it in the queue to go out on that certain time. In addition to that, if I do that a lot, I don't want the message to go out to next Wednesday, so I just select next Wednesday. At any time I want to, I can come up here and click on this little Boomerang icon up here in the top right, and it'll open up my Boomerang tool for me. Here we go. Mr. Murphy is having his fun with me today, but this will be your Boomerang management tool up there, and you can look at all the things that you have that are waiting to go out. And if I click right there, I can go to Manage Settings, and it says I don't have anything right now. And if I did, I would have this is my queues of things that I can, all the messages that are waiting to go out, and I can go in there and change times and dates if I want to, or delete them. And I can look at reoccurring messages if I want them to go out, or something go out every Friday or something like that. I can do that. So Boomerang's a handy dandy little tool that a lot of people like. Now Boomerang's also available for calendar as well. And Katie, do we have time for another one? Okay, another one is Send from Gmail. This is another extension that you can install. And if you're somewhere on a web page, and I've got, here's some interesting information. Maybe I want to share this information with Katie. I just come up here and click on Send from Gmail, and it opens up this little box right here, and I'll send it to Katie, and click on Send, and it sends that web page to Katie. Where that really comes in handy is when you're sharing information like this with someone else, or let's say you're having trouble with something and you call the help desk and you say, I'm on this page right here and it's going wonky on me or something like that. And the person on the other end on the phone is trying to imagine what page you're on. Well, if you're on the page, just send it to them, to the help desk, and they can look at the same page you're looking at and then help you through it. All right, now remember, any of these things up here, these add-ons and extensions, they're your responsibility. The NC State staff, IT staff, and the help desk only support the core products. You plain vanilla, what you get is what you see type of stuff. Once you start dressing it up with these enhancements and features and add-ons, they're your responsibility. So if you have a problem with Boomerang or you have a problem with mail merge and you call the help desk, I'm sure they'll be polite, and if it's possible that they can help you, that they will, but don't expect that they'll be expert in those areas. And one couple interesting things about Gmail that you can do that you might not do on a regular basis, but we do want you to do, is if you receive a message that's clearly a spam, you may already know that you can come up here and see where I'm at right up here. You can click on it and declare it spam up there, and it puts the spam label on it for you, so it's there. And by the way, once you're in spam, if you decide that it's no longer spam, you can click on that and put it back to where it was before. Another way that you can do it is with the message open. You can come over here inside the message and click on this down pointing arrow and say report it as spam from here. So that makes that happen as well. Now, with spam, we want you to report it. We do not want you just to just delete and get rid of them that way, because it's an intelligent service. The more that you report it, the bigger the database gets, and the files get to keep them from coming to you in the filter in the future. So if you don't want them back in the filter, declare them spam, and they will try not to get back to you in the future. Along the same line, if something is obviously phishing, somebody's asking for your ID or your account number, or wants you to attach your birth certificate or something like that, you can come over here and declare it phishing. And when you do declare it phishing, things really do happen. It does get reported back to Google, and Google does take action on it, and they explore it, they investigate it, and they do what they can to make that happen. And we've already mentioned how to create a task from email earlier on.
Don, there's actually been a request to see if you can do a quick review of how to create a calendar event from an email.
Very good. Am I back online now? All right. Here's my email box. I'm going to open up a message, and perhaps this message says I want to add it to my calendar. So with the message, the key here is to have the message open. Then under the More option up here, say Create Events. Then it opens up your Google Calendar Task Manager tool, and then you go in and you modify the details as you see fit, and then you click on Save, and it's added to your calendar. I hope that answered your question. A few other resources that are available to you, of course, are the Google Learning Center. Google keeps all of their tutorials out there. Here's the Gmail tutorial, or you can go to the Home button and click on By Product and get introduced to the tutorials for all the other products out there as well. The Gmail Help. This takes you directly to the Google Support Center for Gmail, and these are all the managed accordion types of things where you go through and look. But the faster way, if you're having a problem with something, is just use the search. And it'll bring up all the issues about whatever it is that you're searching for. Becoming a better searcher. If you've been to any of my classes, you know I beat you up on searching, and here's my searching resources page. There's tons and tons of things out there to help you become better searchers. Some of these are videos. Also in Google Drive, there's some unique things in Google Drive that you can do with searching. And down here's lots of other resources. So take advantage of those. And Katie, I'm going to let you wrap up with accessibility and two-factor, and then wrap it up from there.
We actually have one more question for you.
Okay, cool.
Someone's interested in learning a little bit more about reminders.
Okay, that's actually in Google Calendar. If you go to your Google Calendar, let me go to the other one so it won't be quite so busy. And over here, and once you're in Google Calendar, under My Calendars over here, as you see, in my case, the task option. I can switch to the reminders option, and then I can put a reminder in there, and it'll show me all the reminders. Now, my words, not Google's words, I call this the nag machine, because it will nag you to death once you've put a reminder in there. It will constantly show up and remind you that you need to do something until you actually get rid of it and clear it out. And it'll follow you from day to day too. So if you went past it, it will keep after you. Oh, by the way, Katie, show us how to clear them out once you've got one in there, because I need to turn this nag machine off.
Well, as far as creating a new reminder, do you know how to walk through that process? It works the same as when you create a new event. So select on a time slot, and then you can click reminder, and that's when you can fill in all of the details. So you just have to choose whether you're creating a new event or a reminder, and then you can type in the details there regarding what the reminder is for, when you want it to remind you, and if you want it to continue to repeat until you clear it out. And then you click create. All right. Don, is there anything else you wanted to share about that?
I could stay all day long and
I know.
talk about Gmail, but I better stop while I'm ahead.
I know it. And again, hopefully, if you haven't been able to sit in on one of Don's sessions, he primarily trains really all things Google, but focuses primarily on Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Slides. What am I missing? I feel like you do it all.
Forms.
Forms, that's right. Yeah, so definitely check out our calendar. I've got a list of upcoming workshops and an upcoming slide that we'll talk about too.
You want to mention anything about accessibility and two-factor before we move on?
I'm actually going to talk about two-factor in just a minute. So
Okay.
we'll cover that on a separate slide. All right, so feel free to add additional questions. We have a few more minutes. We're just going to follow up with some upcoming events, talk a little bit more about two-factor at NC State, and then close up with how to stay connected. We do have a Go link to the slides that we covered today if you want to check them out on your own later on and have a reference to all of the tips and tricks that Don covered today. You can visit go.ncsu.edu/gmail10YTL. That's for YouTube Live. And as I mentioned earlier, here is a list of all of the upcoming workshops that we have this month. You'll see there is a deeper dive into Gmail Advanced Productivity on March 21st. We actually have classes scheduled through the end of May. So if you can't catch another workshop this month, we hope you'll visit Classmate at go.ncsu.edu/classmate and see a full list of our scheduled events. So two-factor authentication at NC State is a hot topic here on campus. I'm sure you've heard that this is coming. NC State employees will be required to enroll in both Google two-step authentication and Duo Security by October 2017. So Google two-step will protect your Google account, and Duo will protect any service behind SHIB. So that includes Wolfware or MyPack Portal. We do offer monthly workshops on two-factor authentication, so if you haven't enrolled yet, you can check out Classmate. There's one coming up next week. So we definitely encourage you to go ahead and get this set up for your account. We don't want people waiting to the last minute. So definitely we encourage you to go ahead and look into how to enroll. You can visit the website at go.ncsu.edu/2FA. There is an explanation of what two-factor is and how it affects your account here at NC State. There's also self-enrollment guides and links out to other workshops. Several of the independent departments and colleges are also offering and hosting custom sessions for their employees. So if you can't make it to one of the general OIT hosted events, definitely talk to your IT support staff. They will probably have additional opportunities for you. And of course, we want you to stay connected with OIT and with our training team, and there's several different ways that you can do that. If you have social media accounts, you can follow us on Twitter. We also have a Google Plus page that we have a lot of fun with. If you have a Google Plus account, we encourage you to circle up with the NC State Google Services team. We're always posting new features, updates, events, tips and tricks that we use that we think are pretty helpful. So definitely try to connect with us out there. I mentioned Classmate for the complete schedule of events. We also offer custom classes. So if you're unable to attend one of our regularly scheduled sessions, definitely reach out and ask if one of our trainers can come to you, and your staff will be glad to make a visit over to your building. I also mentioned the evaluation early on. We would love to get your feedback on this event. Again, YouTube Live is still a little new for us, so we're working out a few kinks there in the system, but hopefully this process was smooth for you. But definitely let us know how the session went from your perspective. And also this is a good opportunity for you to provide any ideas or suggestions you have for future classes you would like to see us offer. And you can also contact us at classreg@ncsu.edu. All right. Other than that, I'm looking over the Q&A document. I don't see any new questions that are posted. So I wanted to say thank you again for joining us during your lunch hour today. I hope you learned a few new tricks when it comes to Gmail and some time savers there. Thanks again to Dawn for sharing all of your advice and wisdom about Gmail with us today. And we hope that we will see you at a future session. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great afternoon.